It's like, who is this kid? They're lying. He's a junior. He was playing somewhere the last 2 years, and he's changed his name and is wearing a dumb number on purpose. He just plays with such poise. Bear Bachmeier is a fake name. I mean, let's be real.
Welcome into Red Raider Recon, brought to you by Cantex Roofing. I'm Clint Scott. He's Rob Bro. You said you weren't going to do that.
Mustache.
You said you weren't. You said you could wear the mustache and you wouldn't do it.
Texas Tech picked up a massive win at Kansas State, winning 43-20. However, the pressure, excitement, and implications ramp up even more this week. Fresh off a bye, the undefeated BYU Cougars come to Lubbock for a top 10 matchup. This season, the Cougars have had freshman quarterback Bear Bachmeier step up and lead them to multiple dramatic wins. That includes a rivalry win over Utah and comeback victories against Arizona and Iowa State. Bachmeier has 20 total touchdowns this season, 11 passing and 9 rushing, with just 3 interceptions in 2025. He's leaned on 2 receivers that have had prolific years as pass catchers. Chase Roberts and Parker Kingston have combined for over 1,000 yards and have 4 touchdown grabs each. Kingston has 2 more on the ground and is a dangerous punt returner. BYU also has the conference's leading rusher. LJ Martin has 789 rushing yards so far in 2025 and a very impressive 6-yard per carry average. However, his health is up in the air after suffering an upper body injury against Iowa State, a matchup where he finished with just 5 carries. The offense has been good, but the defense has been even better for the Cougars. They're third in the Big 12 in scoring defense. Opponents have scored just 17 points per game against the team from Provo. It's also been a no-fly zone for opposing passing games. They're tied with Arizona at the top of the conference with 12 interceptions. That's been divvied up between 7 different players. 4 Cougars have multiple picks. Speaking of turnovers, the Red Raider defense showed just how dangerous they can be again in their win in Manhattan. Tech's defense forced 5 Wildcat turnovers. Jacob Rodriguez forced 2 fumbles, bringing his nation-leading total up to 7. In the Big 12 this week, Houston will look to bounce back from a loss Friday night against UCF. Arizona hosts Kansas with both teams looking for their 6th win. Colorado is at West Virginia. Both are 3-6 overall and 1-5 in conference play. And finally, TCU looks to keep a sliver of hope for Arlington alive in Fort Worth when they face Iowa State. The premier matchup this week, however, resides in Lubbock. It's 8 versus 9 with conference championship dreams on the line.
That's right, Clint. We have a big... Are you going to keep wearing the mustache?
Where'd yours go?
Well, are you just doing this to wear the costumes?
No. So BYU this week, undefeated.
Massive, massive showdown. You're already top 10 in the AP, both of them. Coaches poll, both of them. Mm-hmm. I would assume you're both in the top 12 of the college football poll. That releases, we're recording Tuesday afternoon, that releases Tuesday night, but this will release Wednesday night. I don't know if you'll both be in the initial playoff field, but I think you will be both in the initial 12 of the ranking. Mm-hmm. And then the other Big 12 team, potentially the one left out of the field with the American champion in place of you.
You know, that's something that has already been asked about a bunch. Like, hey, do you think, could have honestly served as the fan question of the week, but we have another one obviously later in the show. But, hey, do you expect a big difference, at least just 1 through 12, from what we see mostly through the AP and the coaches poll to what we'll see in the college football playoff initial release poll? And to be fair, I haven't gone back and done the work to see just how lockstep they are, but it feels like they're not drastically different. And so with you both being in the top 10, securely in the top 10, I don't know, it feels like you could both be on certainly in the initial field. One of you will be. But to me, I feel like you could get both on that initial, picture that they'll show, the image that they'll show, and you can say, hey, there's 2 Big 12. And we'll see here after 3-4 weeks how it shapes out with the real one. But I think there's a good shot that you see both in that playoff field.
Let's say that both BYU and Texas Tech are in the top 12 and the initial playoff poll. How important is that for the Big 12 early, especially over the final 4 weeks, with Cincinnati, Utah, BYU, and Texas Tech all kind of vying for playoff spots this late in the year.
I think it's really important for respect, and I think that helps out not only obviously you and Texas Tech. I think that nod, because it'll trickle down to the entire Big 12, I think that nod helps out Utah immensely, because they're the ones that have right now, they won't have the help, at least it seems like, from a Big 12 championship appearance, because they need the most help. And even if they take care of business in a way that they have been, which I've got a thought on them and 3 thoughts, they're the ones that need the help the most. And it's plausible to say that they could get into the playoff, but it's going to be really challenging.
If the Big 12 has 2 in tonight, yesterday, you know what I mean. If the Big 12 has 2 in the playoff field, then I think if the Big 12 championship is Texas Tech, BYU, and Utah, two of the combination of those 3, I think they're both in the playoff.
Yeah, I think so.
And then I think there's a world...
Because, I mean, the ACC has just shot themselves in the foot at the worst time, too.
Yeah.
Which I think is a big help to you. And then the other thing is we'll see how Notre Dame is treated. Obviously, that's another spot that's not taken up by a conference or an SEC or a Big Ten team. Them having a couple of losses, even though by most accounts you'd consider good losses. The Miami one looks worse and worse, but those coming early too, I think that's another kind of side view that you're looking at. And especially if they get any sort of, we don't love your record, that's huge for you.
Yeah.
But the ACC has been the bigger help from their lack of consistency at the top.
All right, BYU coming into town, college game day, Mahomes jersey, Mahomes, top 10 matchup. That has been a tough thing for Texas Tech to do with all of those things individually. Now they're all here at the same time. This moment this is the biggest moment of the year. It's the biggest moment of the rest of the regular season. And for Texas Tech individually, now the implications of the Big 12 championship game are different, obviously, historically and otherwise. But as far as moments go, until you get in a playoff game, this is the biggest moment, even if you're playing in a Big 12 championship game.
I think this is a huge moment for a lot of things past just Big 12 implications. One, it is, even though you've done awesome in recruiting, this is a huge recruiting tool just for game day to be here. But also, if you do believe in some Heisman campaigns,
Heisman
moments are huge. And for Jacob Rodriguez and for David Bailey, for that matter, I've got some numbers we'll go over later. The Heisman moments has worked its way into, it's just a huge part of the conversation, and it's not just stats. Yep. Even if they're astronomical, you want to go, okay, what was the play where the nation of college football was watching? What was the game? And it doesn't have to be necessarily that Jacob Rodriguez has a K-State type game and forces 2 fumbles. It is important for those guys to win it, and for the defense as a whole to have a really good day. And I think you're going to.
We'll talk about that as we go through. How about some thoughts from the weekend? I'll start. First thought. Texas Tech's defense redeemed themselves from the Arizona State collapse. And look, that is a strong word for what that was, but the final drive was tough. There was a moment early in the fourth quarter where this offense is punting and not being able to do much before they go on a run, and you just shut Kansas State down. And there was a turnover on downs, a punt, a turnover, and their final 4 or 5 drives, they just were useless. This defense really turned up in the fourth quarter, and it was impressive and a little bit scary to watch.
I'm going to hold my reaction back because I have a thought that is basically bouncing off of that.
Second thought. Houston choked.
We should have just combined our thoughts.
Houston sold. I mean, good God, Houston. You have a chance to firmly put yourself in the contender category, right there with Cincinnati, right there with Utah, right behind Texas Tech and BYU, to be in the mix, in the thick of it. You're playing West Virginia at home, and you have 20,000 bodies in the seats, maybe, and you're a ranked team, and you just had zero atmosphere and zero juice and got beat by 10 and gave up 45 to West Virginia with a quarterback on one leg.
Scotty Fox.
Now,
Jr.
it does not ruin their season, but how do they finish in response to that is going to be a big thing. I mean, they were looking at 10-2 in the face. Mm-hmm. And now, I think it's going to be hard to get back there because they got to win out now.
Yeah.
And obviously, you probably lose one down the stretch anyways, but to West Virginia at home?
Doesn't make you feel
with
much
an
better for the
empty
rest
stadium?
of the schedule. Yeah.
Bad. All right. Third thought. Texas Tech's offense just needs to get first downs. They'll eventually score, but this needs to be an offense that is just consistently staying on the field and providing this defense with a moderate flow of the game. You do not need to score in huge chunks. Big plays are awesome. I will accept big plays. But that doesn't need to be your full hunt. Mm-hmm. A lot of times last year I thought you were looking for big plays and went completely stagnant with a bunch of incomplete passes. This just needs to be an offense that stays in front of the sticks. Now, on the rare 4th and 1, 4th and 2, 3rd and 2, you take those shots, amazing, awesome. Those are great calls and moments. And I thought Mac Leftwich had at least 2 of them against Kansas State, one being the 4th and 2 shot to Caleb Douglas. Otherwise, just keep it on the tracks, baby. Baron Morton, I think, is a really good quarterback. But he can be that kind of elite bus driver with a great defense that can win championships. And I think he just needs to play inside of himself, and doing so, you can really move the ball. Mm-hmm. I mean, with Jacoby Williams and Cam Dickey and these playmakers on the outside and inside and tight end, you can score 42, 35, 28, just playing boring offense. And I think that's when you were moving your ball at your best, that's what you were doing. And then taking the rare deep shot. And if you hit those at a high clip, which you can if people are focused on stopping the run, it's just a great recipe for Texas Tech. And I think this offense proved a lot this weekend after a poor start. And I'm very excited to see what they can do, not only against BYU, but West Virginia and UCF down the stretch. Because I think UCF has a decent defense. And by the way, we'll look at the Big 12 Whiparound later, but if they win this weekend, which they can, they'll be fighting for bowl eligibility next weekend.
Well, let me ask you something. At this point in the season, because I think the last 4 defenses you're seeing are how I view them in descending order. And I think BYU's defense is great. BYU's defense is really good. They've had some cracks. But where Kansas State has been in the season, I would personally, and I would understand if you flip them, I would go Kansas State, BYU, UCF, West Virginia in that order. And I think that is, 1, big for the offense. 2, are you surprised that it took a little bit for the offense to get going? 1, against Kansas State's defense, but also on the road and with Baron Morton off for 2.5 games. Because I'm not shocked. I thought in the end you had a really good day, especially against that unit. And I'm with you. I think you did exactly what I wanted you to offensively, because you didn't really put anything in harm's way. You had the one turnover early, and then you had a Cam Dickey fumble that was just kind of not fluky, because it's not like the first time he's fumbled by any means, but that was just a weird play, and in the end it doesn't hurt you. And you weren't doing things, though, actively as you were trying to build a lead to put the game in harm's way.
Yeah.
You made the plays that you needed to. You had a mature game from Baron Morton, and you got the running game back on track. Check, check, check.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
I was impressed with the whole game. I thought that, I'm not a superstitious guy. I'm not even a little stitious.
That's okay. That's very important.
I don't believe in curses. There have been times in my Texas Tech fandom where I've thought maybe there are curses. Certainly going to Manhattan is one of those times where I think maybe it is real.
Mm-hmm.
But you did exactly what I wanted you to do this weekend, defensively and offensively. Now, Avery Johnson got loose a couple of times. There's not any more Avery Johnsons out there, really, on your schedule. Now, Barrett Bachmeier runs the ball. He's not Avery Johnson. He's a much different runner.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he matches up like Avery Johnson does to your defense. Well, Taven Jackson's a runner. No, he's not Avery Johnson. So I think Avery Johnson is just going to get you. I think Matt Wills really wanted it. I think Avery Johnson really wanted that one. And you just did not let it happen. So I was really, really impressed with Texas Tech over the weekend. All right, your thoughts?
I'm gonna change the order of how I wrote these down because I didn't know what your three thoughts, and I'm going to. Yeah, I'll start with what was going to be my third thought. First thought. Utah is the third best team in the conference, and they're not going to be in Arlington because of tiebreakers. They lost, in the end, the two most important games of their season. And that's going to kill them, and it is killing them. Their wins, they're just crushing teams physically and on the scoreboard. 34, 32, 36, 46, 31. Those are their Big 12 scores of their 4 wins. That's an average of 35.75 points for margin of victory. That is nuts. However, there were 2 teams that were better, and both of those teams control their own destiny. And they also crushed a team that also controls their own destiny with Cincinnati. But if you're doing a quick power ranking, I think it is clearly BYU and you, flip it however you want to. I don't think just because a team's undefeated, you have to have them number 1. But those are the 2, Utah number 3, Cincinnati 4.
I think, depending on what happens this weekend, but maybe even right now, my Big 12 power rankings had BYU first. I've been doing that as kind of a thing. But if you're really pressing me, Texas Tech, Utah, BYU, Cincinnati, I think is my order. I think, yes, Utah lost heads up to BYU at BYU. If they played that game at Utah, I think it would be a lopsided victory for Utah. I think if they played at neutral site, I think Utah would win. They just lost that night. So I think Utah is the second best team in the Big 12.
Second thought. This is where I basically added a bonus to your Houston. Houston took themselves out of the race, and Cincinnati multiplied the pressure of that BYU game by about 1,000. First of all, Houston fans, you don't deserve a positive Houston team. You do not deserve Willie Fritz. You do not deserve a good season if you're not going to show up. You barely showed up when Texas Tech was there, even though there's a lot of smack. If you're not going to show up, then shut up. That's how I view it. Now, Houston should not have dropped that game. And, geez, dude, what a team to lose to. I mean, you already said it. This is what I was waiting. But that was like peak Rich Rod offense with an underwhelming roster. Scotty Fox Jr. running the show now at quarterback. Like you said, on one leg, just under 250 on the ground between 3 different guys, him and a couple running backs. Pick 6 on top of it from West Virginia. That was Rich Rodriguez, like a dream game outside of the points that Houston was able to score. But with the underwhelming roster, dream game for Rich Rodriguez. First win for them. Horrible, horrible, horrible loss. Speaking of rough, Brendan Sorsby worst game of the year. Well, 33% completion percentage. Well, also the worst showing by Cincinnati's defense. Couldn't have come in at a worse time.
Special teams.
You lose the turnover battle. You lose in penalties. You get hammered in time of possession. Your defense can't get them off the field. I don't think Cincinnati by any means is as bad as they looked in a night game at Rice-Eccles. But Utah, again, this is, again, maybe more turns back to that other thought. They just made them look like they shouldn't even be talked about in contention for a Big 12 title. Yet, here we go. Because BYU on the road at Cincinnati is certainly not a given by any means. I think that game's going to be great, actually. And that also adds even more importance to make sure that you win this week, because you don't want to be sitting there going the last 3 weeks, well, we're a massive fan of Arizona, BYU, or even worse, TCU, the rest of Cincinnati's schedule, because you need the help just to get it to tiebreakers. But my goodness, that was two teams at the top of the conference that both had just forgettable Saturdays. And technically my first thought, but third thought.
Third thought.
It takes borderline perfection to score on your defense. Avery Johnson's 2 rushing touchdowns. Let's start there. The first one was in a way that Kansas State fans have been begging for Avery Johnson to be used all season long. Perfectly ran read option. His longest run of the season, he blocked perfectly, read perfectly, ran perfectly. Perfect. The second touchdown, a red zone scramble on third down where you've been pressuring him all game long, and he finds a seam and has to show that he's the most athletic player on the field. And then the third one might be the best example. That might be the best ball he's thrown all year long. And I'm not saying he's just had horrible, because he's had some pretty good ones. It's just
coverage.
Inconsistent. Yeah. But I mean, you're looking at a target you know that can high point the ball with Garrett Oakley. It's right over a defender, as good of pass coverage as you can have, drops it right over him, and then maybe an even better catch. I'm just going through the touchdowns that have been scored on you, because there have been so few this year. It is astounding what it takes to find the end zone. Even like Arizona State, you had to have perfectly drawn up and ran plays just to set them up. And even then, sometimes it's like, well, because of penalties, they had like 7 or 8 shots, it feels like, to score. So it is just a new thing every week that I'm impressed with this defense. And as you said, when they really put the clamps down in this matchup, it's kind of like at the end throwing the towel for Avery Johnson. And that's the way it's been. You just keep staying consistent, and you keep hammering. And by the fourth quarter, you have teams that go like, what happened? Score-wise, we were in that game. Yeah. You're like, well, sorry, you got beat by 20-plus points. Also, by the way, you had 5 turnovers.
Yeah. And there were some officiating questions, I thought, both ways, but I was laughing at the Kansas State fans who were trying to say that was the difference in the game, without mentioning the other ones that... Now, if you hadn't scored after Caleb Douglas' touchdown was taken off the board or not given to him, that would have been a much different thing. But he scored a few plays later with Caleb Douglas, so not too worried about that. I thought both the fumbles, one was reviewed and taken away, one was not reviewed. I thought they probably should have been flipped. I think Tech could have gotten both. But if one was flipped, I thought the other one should have been flipped.
You know what? Coach McGuire, I thought, made a really good point, because I didn't have any issue. I don't know, you might see it differently.
On the field,
I didn't have any issue with the on-the-field reffing.
Yeah.
But the replay review was all over the place, because I'm with you. It was just weird. If you look at the first one, and I'll keep this very short, how it was overturned from the way it was called on the field.
Right.
Because we usually just nail down that point, and Mike Pereira, pick the ref analyst, will also just, go to that as their point. It's like they'll start, well, before I give my opinion, it was called this way on the field.
Yeah.
So it was shocking that they overturned that, and then, like you said, then that they didn't look at the second one overall, and then that they didn't change the Caleb Douglas one, even though it felt as obvious as all get out.
And then the Cole Wisniewski targeting review.
Catch, knock.
Now it's a catch.
It was it was all over the place. In the end, it doesn't affect the game, but it was just, there was a reason I think things were sent in about the replay.
All right. It's the third quarter, entering the fourth quarter of the Texas Tech football season. Clint, where were you right and where were you wrong?
Lots of places on both. I'm going to say a we on this one because I think we were right with Cincinnati that they would be a legitimate team in the Big 12. Clearly they have been. I also think we were right about where Oklahoma State and West Virginia was. That shouldn't be shocking. I think everybody in the country, maybe outside of Oklahoma State fans, I didn't hear much from West Virginia thinking they were going to turn it around. But I think also correct on questioning Avery Johnson's effectiveness this year. And as a whole, now again 4-5, feels like we were pretty right on about that. And I think we were right about Utah's offensive line. You were right about Devin Dampier having a really good year. And I think we were specifically right about that their offensive line is the best in the conference, which, again, makes it even more impressive how you handled them at Rice-Eccles with your front. Just crazy. And then also very much correct about your pass rush ability. I mean, you just dreamt up a defense that was going to be able to cause pressure and then also be able to cover on the back end, and then just having a really good year from the linebackers. Somehow, some way, it's both lived up to that, and it's also been even better than what we thought. I mean, there's conversations, and we probably had one too, where it's like, Romello Height could be your leading sack guy because they're going to be focused so much on David Bailey. He's just been so good. And it's still not a crazy thing to go back and look at that because Romello Height has 100% delivered. But, man, you can talk so much about how much you like a roster, and rarely does it live up to how you build it up in your mind or how you talk about it. It's defense and your pass rush specifically 100% has. Your linebackers have. I think your secondary has too, because I don't think anybody thought they would be the best group out of the three. But just the defense as a whole, if you loved how the roster was built, you were correct too. Sorry, did you want to punch this again?
No, my mustache isn't on. Well, my mustache is.
It's pretty good, man.
No, it doesn't. I would add the running backs. When Quentin Joyner went down, we had to update our running back preview, and I don't know if we full-throatedly said that this duo would be great regardless, but, we really, really expected Jacoby Williams to make a difference as the kick returner. And in his 3 or 4 returns, he's been elite, incredible. I don't know that he's had a bad one. I think he just has 3 really, really good ones, including a touchdown. So you haven't needed him as much there, but we talked about the offense and the running game looking different, but not taking a step back.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. I mean, even with Adam Hill's rushing yards early, or especially with Adam Hill's rushing yards, I mean, you're right at 1,300 yards rushing as a team. And I don't know that you'll get to that 2,000-yard mark, but if Caleb Dickey has 100 yards a couple times down the stretch, he's going to be real close to 1,000. Not all the way there, but real close.
I think I would be surprised if you didn't get to 2,000 at this point.
Total?
Yeah.
Well, I guess with the Will Hammond as well. I wouldn't add it in Will Hammond.
Yeah, sorry, not just as a team, not from your running backs.
Right. No, I did not add in Will Hammond. And then you also have Jacoby Williams, who I think is going to be maybe a 600 guy if he gets a couple of big receptions here. So you're more dynamic. It's crazy to say. You're more dynamic at the running back position this year, and it could be just the offensive system because Taj Brooks, if he was touching the ball, was touching it as a running back or as a runner. And you didn't really allow the offense to throw to him because If he's touching, he's running the ball because you're trying to chase records. Mm-hmm. Now, he had the touchdown catch against Oklahoma State, and you're like, whoa, that looked pretty good. Why didn't we see that more? Well, I think just the nature of the offense. So I think the nature of the offense this year has allowed these two running backs to look really good. Have they looked elite in every game? No, but when they've been given the opportunity, I think they've risen to the task. And I think you have two of the top 5 running backs in the Big 12.
I think it's like
LJ Martin's the best running back right now, yardage-wise.
More and more, I feel like you have the best. Like the most confident thing I can say is that you have the best duo in the Big 12, and it's not even close.
100% the best duo, unless you're making Bear and LJ Martin a combo.
No, I said best running backs. I didn't say best.
Yeah, so. No. I think that, even so, I think I would put Caleb Dickey and Jacoby Williams above them. They're just such a threat from everywhere, both of them.
And what's interesting is that I don't think, and maybe you could say this is where we were wrong with the running backs, I don't know if we gave Jacoby Williams enough credit on being a tough runner, that if he needs to go in between the tackles, he can do that. And then vice versa, I don't know if we gave Dickey enough credit that, well, he can do a lot of things in the pass game himself. He can make house calls at any moment. Like, you never know when he's going to be a lightning strike type player. So, I'm with you there. As far as being wrong, if I started out, I'll do a personal one, because we've talked about this. You didn't have as many doubts as the quarterback that you're facing this week. I thought the BYU quarterback was going to be I thought the quarterback room was going to be a mess. I thought we were going to see multiple guys get starts, and Bear Bachmeier has just held it down.
I really, it was late in the offseason when I started hearing about Bear Bachmeier, and he was like the guy. Mm-hmm. And so I came around early on him, but I had him finishing 7-5, even with Bear Bachmeier. I thought they'd lose to Utah. I thought they'd lose to Iowa State. I thought they'd lose to Texas.
Like, you had him at a better start.
Yeah, I had him had a really good start, but I didn't think even the freshman was going to have the poise down the stretch that he has. Mm-hmm. Where I was wrong, I had Arizona at 3-9. Now, I don't know that they'll finish way above that, but I didn't even have them being competitive.
See, and my version of that is Houston. I thought Houston was going to be, and I couldn't remember where you were with Houston. I thought this was going to be a missing a bowl Houston, horrible. I did not believe in Connor Wigman, and he's been much better than I thought he would be.
I thought
dead wrong on Houston.
I thought they would be better than last year, but not by a large stretch, and they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. You also said Cincinnati for both of us earlier. I really trusted the Cincinnati roster.
Oh, you had Satterfield.
I had Cincinnati lose. I had Cincinnati beating Iowa State, and I highly thought of Iowa State before the season, but then not being good down the stretch.
So like last year.
Yeah, I had them for the last 2 years.
That's very honest of you, because you could have just.
Yeah. I did not think Cincinnati would finish strong. Now they got blown out by Utah. They play Arizona, BYU, and TCU. They could lose the last 4.
Sure.
After a bye. But they still would be better than what I thought, because I thought it would start a little earlier.
If I did one, first, another one I was wrong on, and it's going to be due to injury and not misjudging talent. Although we'll see about the quarterback, if they can keep getting wins like they did against Iowa State. In the end, Arizona State is probably not going to finish as a top 5 team in the conference. And I had them in the Big 12 championship game with you.
Yeah, do I have to do that?
I
had Baylor.
Yeah, that's right. You're not the only one, though. You're not the only one.
I had Baylor. I thought that offense would be much better. And I just liked their schedule, man. They lost.
You could just stand by just wrong with Baylor's defense.
Yeah, I
don't think anybody expected it was going to be that bad.
They lost to Arizona State. They lost to Oklahoma State, or they beat Oklahoma State, but it didn't go well. Now, they've only lost 3 conference games. They have Utah, Arizona, and Houston. Does a winning record in Big 12 play push Dave Aranda to another season, or do you think they're going to fire him?
No, I think they're going to do what they've always done. And especially at this stage, this is where it's a tough decision for Baylor. And I think part of them were it's going to sound crazy. I think there was a part of Baylor decision makers that were hoping they would lose to UCF to make this decision for them, because they're going to be way behind in the hiring cycle, and you're all ready for a crazy, crazy offseason. Now, I think he's going to be starting out on the hot seat next year.
I think there's so many open jobs, though, they're not going to be behind.
Man, I think
It seems like a lot of these guys are waiting. Has anyone been hired? Auburn, Florida, Arkansas?
no, but they
Oklahoma
have,
State's
but
still
they
open?
have, but they have the jump start on working on the relationship
Sure.
with guys.
Sure.
I would be afraid if I was a better program, if I was LSU, man, I'd have no problem. You're going to get the pick of the litter. If I was Florida, if I was Penn State, Baylor's not that.
It's a bad offseason to hire
I would
a coach.
be nervous that I was competing with Oklahoma State and Arkansas if I was Baylor.
It's a bad offseason to hire a coach. They have to win 2 of the last 3 to have a winning record in the Big 12. You got 1 to be bowl eligible. Do you think bowl eligible is enough?
Yes, I do. I think they're gonna do exactly what they've been doing with Dave Aranda, and he's gonna do just enough. He's gonna start on the hot seat. Next year they're gonna win 8 or 9 games.
Utah, at Arizona, Houston.
I don't believe they're gonna win 8 or 9 games next year if he stays. By the way, that was a joke.
All right, what about some Big 12 Players of the Year?
Do you want one more? This was
Sure.
the one for you that I was wrong on. I'm curious on your thoughts. I think your receivers have been good, but I don't think that they have been consistently, especially in Big 12 play, where I thought they would be.
Corey Aiken has had some struggles, and I think Caleb Douglas is just kind of the same receiver as last year. He had some drop issues last year too. Reggie Virgil has been better than I expected, but I would agree that there's been some consistency issues. Now, you've gone back and forth between some quarterbacks, which I think also plays into it, but I'd like for them to have a strong finish.
And that's, again, I don't think bad. I'm going to
No.
stress this. They
No.
have not been bad.
No.
They just haven't been. They've shown you the ability to, each of your main guys, to be elite, but they just have not.
Consistency
Yeah,
is the
consistency is the biggest thing.
issue. Yeah. And again, that could be a lot of reasons.
All right, Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year.
Of the week.
I'll start.
Okay.
Scotty Fox Jr., West Virginia.
Big time.
3 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 1 passing, 157 yards through the air, 65 on the ground. Don't look now, but he is very interesting at quarterback. What started the last 2 games for Rich Rod? What have they gone through? 3 quarters? He's a 3rd quarterback, 4th quarterback. He's a certain number of quarterback in
He's
that
the
system.
17th quarterback of this season.
And he's looked to me clearly the best.
Yeah. I hope he can stay healthy the rest of the year, healthy enough to play, because he looked like he was hobbling pretty good most
Yeah.
of that game and was still doing what he was doing. I'll go Hall of Fame jersey recipient. It's hanging in the Arizona State Hall of Fame currently, Jeff Sims, who pedestrian quarterback, 177 yards, a touchdown and a pick, but elite running, 29 carries, 228 yards, 7.9 per, 2 more touchdowns along with 88. Jeff Sims? Hall of Fame, Arizona
Is there a
State.
question mark on the Hall of Fame jersey? Like, Sims?
Yeah. That guy? That Jeff Sims?
I love that the jersey, I mean, you can tell.
Oh, just...
I feel like they put extra grass stains on it for the Hall of Fame jersey. This is my conspiracy theory. I felt like they also put some Arizona
That
State red
guy-
and gold and just kind of
That
spattered
guy
it on.
played some football, maybe. All right, how about defense?
You know what? I want you to go first.
Okay.
I want you to go first because I want everyone to know that this was taken.
I'll take Jacob Rodriguez. 5 tackles, a tackle for loss, a pass deflection, and 2 forced fumbles. He has the most forced fumbles in the college football world. His tackle numbers are not elite because of this defense, but everything else he does is the best in football. He's the best middle linebacker in the country. He was the best middle linebacker in the country this week. And I think he has the opportunity to be all of the defensive awards, the pre- and postseason Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. And he certainly was this week. I have a bit of an issue with how this is shaking out, though.
Okay. Would you like to go over that issue now?
In 2008, Heisman voters were tasked with voting for the 2008 Heisman Trophy winner.
Checks out.
And half of them said, this guy catching footballs in Lubbock is on his way to a second Blitnikoff. He's the most incredible pass catcher we've ever seen at this level. He's the best receiver in the country. He's what makes that offense go. Michael Crabtree, number 1 Heisman. The other half said, that guy's not catching them if Graham Harrell's not putting him in the perfect place. Graham Harrell is beyond just a system quarterback there. He's taken what Mike Leach has done with Cliff Kingsbury and B.J. Simmons and Cody Hodges and Sonny Cumbie and taken it up a level. And he's done it for 3 years. He is the Heisman Trophy winner. Well, you know who won the Heisman that year? Neither of those guys. Mm-hmm. Because they split votes and it hurt them. My hope is that half the coaches aren't voting for Jacob Rodriguez, the other half aren't voting for David Bailey.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, Austin Romaine wins Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year because he was number 3 and the other 2 split. So I do hope one of those 2 guys wins it. And I do hope one of those 2 guys is getting all the season awards at the end, if not both of them, in some respect. One getting one and one the other. They're both finalists for the Lombardi. David Bailey certainly has the opportunity the next couple weeks to get his sack numbers up, but he is the top sack getter in the country right now. Most forced fumbles, most sacks, those are really important numbers for those positions. And both of them had a great impact in the win against Kansas State. But I'm taking Jacob Rodriguez.
Yeah, I think that's the take. Although, I'll say this. So, we've had more than we haven't. I'm trying to think of Big 12 Defensive Players of the Week, the singular guy that won it. The conference expanded and everyone was like, oh, we can't just pick just one.
Right.
With it, though,
it could be the duo.
there has never been co-defensive players of the week where they've taken from the same team. I think you could have had that this week. And I'm doing it because Bryce Pollock had a monster game against Kansas State. I would argue it was the combo of Bryce Pollock and Amir Boyd's best game because Amir Boyd made some stellar plays in that game too. But Bryce Pollock...
One taken off the board.
Yes. Still a great play. Should have been a forced fumble.
Yeah.
An interception, a fumble recovery, 2 tackles for loss, one of them on 4th down, massive play, 5 tackles as a whole, completely shut down anybody he was defending. And I looked at that, and boy, like you look at, especially from a cornerback, that's about as good of a game as you can have.
Yeah, Kansas State.
And I don't think Bryce Pollock was talked enough about in that game or since.
He's not been talked about this season enough.
Yeah. And usually that's the tip of the cap for a defensive back because we only talk about them if people keep throwing their way and they have like 8 to 10 interceptions, or if they're just getting beat every week and they're like, but this guy stinks. He's horrible. Why are we even putting him on the field? And Pollock has just blanketed people. which has been very, very, very impressive and also welcomed. We'll jump to BYU and Bear Bachmeier in just a minute. But since you brought up Jacob Rodriguez, something that's been asked, is there a real shot that he does? There's the Heisman campaign. People are pushing for it. You can vote for it on Twitter. You and I have certainly been trying to do our part for our vote a day, which I think you might get 2 if you do it with Twitter. Anyways, is there a real shot in your mind that he gets to New York?
I was doing some research before the show, and you could say that Travis Hunter was a defensive winner last year, though
he's a unicorn,
very unique. Beyond that, it's been rare, right, that you have finalists and guys in New York playing defense.
You can go
Will Anderson, Chase Young,
2019, Aiden Hutchinson,
2021.
I think because people go all the way back to Manti Te'o because he was a linebacker.
Right.
And in between then, you've had edge rushers, and then obviously you have like Ndamukong Suh,
Jabril
defensive
Peppers.
lineman. You've had guys get there, but the linebacker specifically has been extra difficult for some reason. And what doesn't make sense to me is that we don't treat most of the time the quarterback of the defense the way we treat the quarterback of the offense, except for Manti Te'o. And I'm not saying his Heisman invitee year wasn't impressive because there was 111 tackles, he had 7 interceptions, 1.5 sacks. I'm not saying those numbers aren't impressive, but if you're going just those two, Jacob Rodriguez is going to have a better year. He already has turnover-wise. And I think something that we don't take into account too, like we go, oh, well, Baron Morton would have more yards if he was playing every single game and not playing half games like he was at the start of the season. What was Jacob Rodriguez doing? He's playing half games because your defense was just killing people. And so if you're looking at the other numbers, Aiden Hutchinson, 62 tackles, 14 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. 2019, Chase Young, 46 tackles, 16.5 sacks, 6 forced fumbles. 2009, Suh's year, 12 sacks, 82 tackles, and an interception. They were all incredible in one stat specifically, and then were solid to really good everywhere else, right? That's Jacob Rodriguez. I mean, also, that's David Bailey. And if you're looking at those sack numbers for those guys, those are attainable numbers. And so you could argue for David Bailey too. And I would say this. This is what kills me even more, is that we're not talking about defenders at all. I would be mad and frustrated if I was Arvell Reese, C.J. Allen at Georgia, Anthony Hill Jr. at Texas. I mean, you can go down this list of awesome defenders that are having great years. That is just, they're not even in 15 to 20 name lists. And that's what's frustrating to me, is that we're not even, like, if you go to like Vegas odds, there are 2 non-quarterbacks. And you could probably guess who they are. Because it's a certain receiver over at Ohio State and a certain running back over at Notre Dame. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be in the conversation either. It's just, for a very pedestrian year, on top of it, a very vanilla year for candidates, we can't talk about a single defender? We can't throw a single name in there?
I think that helps. I think over the last few weeks, if Texas Tech debuts in the top 10 today in the playoff poll, if they're in the mix for the playoff, down the stretch, this Jacob Rodriguez thing will heat up. And I think David Bailey deserves as much talk as Jacob Rodriguez does as well. So I think they've both been really, really good. I'd like to see what they're doing moving forward in that respect.
I was just thinking about this, like saying those names. You could say every single one, end it with stud, and you can add in like Aiden Fisher at Indiana and Jake Golday, and even if you go down a level for someone that just has astronomical numbers, Red Murdoch at Buffalo, who's the only one sniffing just forced fumbles. No one is touching Jacob Rodriguez in turnovers, total turnovers. Nobody is. And there's not a single defender out there. So there's my pitch. But I'm with you. I think it'll pick up steam if the season ends the way that you want it. All right, part of that is going to be beating BYU on Saturday. Bear Bachmeier, let's start with him. Individually, is he the biggest surprise in the conference?
Yeah, and I think it's fairly easy to say so.
Yeah.
I think he's been better than Jake Retzlaff last year.
Yes.
Much better.
Agreed.
Much better.
Agreed.
And like I was watching the end of the Arizona game, and it's like, who is this kid? Like he's got to be like they're lying. He's a junior. He was playing somewhere the last 2 years, and he's changed his name and is wearing a dumb number on purpose. Like he just plays with such poise.
He's the quarterback.
He's Chad
Powers. Yeah.
Yeah. Bear Bachmeier is a fake name. I mean, let's be real.
He was like, what's my name? And he was at a zoo and he's like, well, there's a bear. There's someone showing me their back.
Yeah.
There's Urban Meyer. Bear Bachmeier.
Oscar Meyer.
There's a hot dog stand. There's a guy eating a hot dog listening to Bach.
Yeah.
Bear Bachmeier.
Now we're getting zoo territory. So he's been really good. And he runs tough.
Yeah.
But I think people have been trying to say that BYU should be knocked for playing close games. I think it's the opposite. I think they should be praised for winning close games. If those are coin flip games, it's not a coincidence or luck that you're getting heads on every flip. Mm-hmm. It's skill. There's a loaded coin right now with BYU in close games, and it's Bear Bachmeier shaving off the tail side to make it flip the other way.
Yeah, you and I have a very almost word for word thought, because the way that I was thinking of this, as far as not even like the credit side, but the impressive side of remembering he's just a freshman. It's like, well, if you're a contender, you have no business in being in close games with Colorado, Arizona, and even Iowa State in that conversation. Well, a true freshman has no business digging you out of holes and winning mature games.
He put the team on his back against Iowa State and buried them. Mm-hmm. He scored the final touchdown and looked at his coach on the sideline against Arizona with no time on the clock or very little time on the clock and said, let's go for 2 and bury these punks. Mm-hmm. He's got some chutzpah.
Can I be honest? Everyone's been trying to give him like player comps. Somebody the other day I heard him say like Ben Roethlisberger.
No.
I'll give you an in-conference comp if you really want to do that, and even then there's not a true one for one.
Colin Klein?
No, a current quarterback.
Oh. Current quarterback?
Brendan Sorsby.
Okay.
He's a big body. He's got a big arm.
Yeah.
He's going to run in a physical nature. He's done a good job of knowing when to scramble, when to use his legs to throw. He's been doing things that aren't a freshman quarterback. He's been a great decision maker. I think also the offense, they know how to use him, and they know when to go design quarterback run. They know when to say, hey, we're going to ice him here. We're going to use our stud to absolutely put a team away. And I think that's something that's a little bit scary is, one, he hasn't had like a freshman midseason wall. It's like he doesn't know any better. He's that sort of guy. And so he's coming in here, and so at least it's going to start this way. He doesn't know that he's supposed to be afraid of the pass rush. He doesn't know he's supposed to be afraid that at any given moment Jacob Rodriguez, when he's running the ball, could be punching it out. And I think he's going to play that way. Now, here's the great thing about your defense. You have looked at quarterback after quarterback and changed the way that they've had to play and completely wrecked game plans. I think you can absolutely do that against Bear Bachmeier, but the start of the game, That's not where his mind's going to be at. And so I think that might be the most impressive thing about him is that he's not playing like a freshman, but part of that is because he has no fear. And that hasn't changed in conference play. And he hasn't been shy when things aren't going their way. And he hasn't just crumpled up and, thrown a game away. So, again, no comp is going to be one for one. But I think he and Brendan Sorsby have a lot of similar qualities. And I also think that's where it's impressive that you keep facing, like, mobile quarterbacks. And over the past decade, that would be terrifying. But I think from who you've seen, even though, because you haven't seen Sorsby this year, I think he might provide the most unique challenge because I think he's the most physical runner as a quarterback you're going to see. Because, like you said, he's not Avery Johnson, he's not Jalen Daniels, and he's not even Devin Dampier, who might be the most in the middle, but he's bigger than him.
Yeah.
And I think can break more tackles. So that run that he had against Utah, where he's pinballing off of defenders, might be the most impressive Big 12 play this year. When you, again, put into consideration who he was doing it against and in that moment.
Will 24 points, 13 of 22, 166 yards and a touchdown, 64 yards rushing and a touchdown be A, attainable against Texas Tech's defense, and B, good enough against Texas Tech's offense?
I don't think it's going to be good enough against Tech's offense at home. Is it attainable? I think they've got to have a lot of things that go right in that game, especially so like LJ Martin. Pete Thamel today said they're expecting him to play, but at what percent? Obviously, that was he goes out against Iowa State. I think AC shoulder sprain, AC joint is what they end up calling it.
Yeah.
But even then, I mean,
one big shot.
LJ Martin. My favorite quality is how tough of a runner he is. But does that go away the first time he dips his shoulder and takes a big hit? And I'm not even saying like, let's knock him out of the game. No. But I think
in the course of the game, that happens.
Because past him, like then you have Simone Moa, who has compartment syndrome. He's not going to be back. That's running back number 2. Running back number 3, Preston Rex. He's got questions around him. There's a very real possibility they're playing the bulk of this with, and I would almost expect this, is Bear Bachmeier as their main runner. And I'll get to the receivers here in a second. I just think if you are one-dimensional is not fair because Bear Bachmeier can run the ball. I feel like people keep saying that. It's more like you're playing this game with an arm tied behind your back because LJ Martin is such a huge piece of this offense. Either if he ends up not being able to go or if he's going to be limited because of his own health. And so I think all of that is to say I think that's going to be really hard to get to those numbers you just said.
Bear Bachmeier has been really good at running the ball, but like not elite.
Sure.
I mean, there's no game where he's just like, all right, that was incredible, except for maybe Arizona. And again, it was one of those where he just couldn't throw the ball against Arizona. He had to run, and so he did.
Clearly his worst passing game, a couple interceptions in there, but again, did what he needed to.
But even that was 22 carries, 89 yards for 4 per. He's had 6 per, 5.8, 6.5, 6.4 3 times. One was against Portland State. One was against Colorado. In a game they won 24-21.
Yeah.
And then otherwise it's just he's been good enough. And aside from the Arizona game, in the game where he also made the plays to win, he hasn't made plays to lose a game. Mm-hmm. Now, he put him in the hole against Arizona, and he drug him out of it. But he's just been safe. Can you be just safe and beat Texas Tech?
No, you have to do what, I mean, you have to have a Sam Leavitt where you're taking big shots, nailing them, and then just going out and making elite plays. And the other thing too, if you are a believer of home and road splits, they've yet to have a good first half on the road, and I am 100% including East Carolina in that. Colorado, Arizona, Iowa State. As impressive as it has been to be able to either hang through tough first halves or come back and win those games, Texas Tech is not the team that you do that against. I mean, that's especially at Texas Tech this year. That's what this roster is, and I think something else that I love about this team is when you have the opportunity, you've been putting your foot on the throat more times than not, and so that's if you have that sort of half, you don't have a playmaking first half, and don't even set yourself up, for success. That's how things get ugly. That's how you do start looking like a freshman quarterback, and you wind up with numbers that you're not used to.
Yeah, if you could get up 14 or so in the first half, I think it really changes the complexion of this game. Now, Chase Roberts is a legit possession receiver on the outside. Mm-hmm. Big body, really good. He can high point the ball. He's really good. And then Kingston is just a playmaker.
Yeah. Anyway, and you know what I love about them is they're two very different styles of receivers. But if you look at them from game to game, it feels like every single time if one of them has a less than stellar outing, that's when the other one goes off. And then they've had like Iowa State where LJ Martin, they don't have the running game and they both go over 100 yards. I think they're the most underrated. They might be the best receiver duo in the conference.
With LJ Martin healthy and Bear Bachmeier as a playmaker, I think their offense is the most underrated offense in the Big 12. Mm-hmm. Because I think Cincinnati gets its flowers. Texas Tech has certainly gotten its flowers, though I do think in some ways they're underrated too. Utah has gotten their flowers.
They have been getting flowers since the season started.
And so I would say they're the most underrated offensive unit as a team. I think defensively maybe UCF is the most underrated, but I really like what BYU does. And as much of a safe guy as Bear Bachmeier is, he can hit a slant to Kingston where it's like he teleported and handed the ball to Kingston and he is off. Mm-hmm. So I do think that that's kind of the play you have to watch out for. It's a 71-yard touchdown, but he caught it 3 yards in front of the line of scrimmage, and he's just up the seam. Mm-hmm. He's that kind of player.
Yeah.
Now, he can also hit you downfield. Chase Roberts can hit you downfield. LJ Martin can bust off a big one, but I just think offensively they're not game breakers. Kingston can be. I think he's the one that's like game breaker. But Chase Roberts, I would say, is a possession guy. Mm-hmm. LJ Martin is a chain mover. Bear Bachmeier's not going to do things that hurt the team. He's not a traditional, maybe a tank driver instead of a bus driver. Mm-hmm. And then Kingston is the one you really have to watch out for. If you're of the four, if you could just say shut down one and say let's make the rest of them beat us, is it maybe Kingston just to avoid the big play and really focus on him?
I would almost go because of that. It just feels like he's going to get something. To me, it's almost more important to go, all right, well, Chase Roberts can't have a day.
Or is it just stop the run game and force Bear Bachmeier to do what he's not done?
That's where it starts.
Yeah.
That's where it starts because as good of a underrated trio between Bachmeier and the two receivers as they have, what they want to do is they want to run the ball.
Yeah.
And especially when that's defensively your biggest strength, even better than pass rushers, it's just your ability, the stop rate that you have with the run game, the grades you have with individual guys in the run game. It's all just incredible and out of this world. If they're having success, any sort of consistent success on the run game, that it's probably spelling a bad day or a day we're not used to for your defense. So that's clear. That's what you want. And then what's on the second notch there on the list?
All right, we've talked a lot about the Texas Tech defense versus their offense. How do you think the Tech offense matches up with the BYU defense? Can you get a lead?
You know what's funny? I was thinking into this game, like, man, I hate going up against BYU's defense. And I'm not saying it's going to be fun, but I don't know if they're quite as good as maybe they're being built up to be. They're fourth in rush defense and pass defense in the conference. They're an older unit. You know, Jack Kelly is kind of their LJ Martin, where he's going to be evaluated this week, might be available, might not. I'm not even sure if he's the best player on that side when you put in like a Tanner Wall, but he's a dude. He's a good player, and I think that there are dudes all over the field. But what you've seen from them this year is people can score, and teams have scored on them. And so it's not like they've just been shutting out teams all year long. When you add that it's at home and just how much better offensively Baron Morton specifically seems to be at home, and that he's got a game under his belt, getting back in the swing of things. I think you'll be able to reach the 30s again, even if you don't have a lot of turnovers. But if you're looking at things to be certainly aware of, not even concerned, is they pick people off a lot. Tied for first with 12. There is one game that they don't have an interception this year. Would you like to guess what that is?
One game, was it Portland State or something?
Yeah, it was the 69-0 Portland State game. It is the only one they don't have an interception. It's really funny. They've got multiple interception games. That's also, I think it's impressive that's divvied up between 7 players, and it's at different levels. I mean, they have a couple safeties, couple corners, linebacker, defensive end.
Pick 6 against ECU.
Was
it ECU?
No.
Regardless, I think it was a conference game.
Anyways, yeah.
Sorry.
But they're scoring touchdowns off of it too. That's just something like as good as the offense has been, I do think that the defense, statistically the defense is better. But I think that they just work so well hand in hand, and so you haven't seen the defense have to press because they can't make up for it on the offense. Just, we've seen it the other way. So it is weird to say, well, statistically the defense is better than the offense. But I look at this defense and go, there's going to be some opportunities. They're tough. They're exactly what BYU is always. They're old, they're tough, and they are physical, and they're going to try to beat you up in this game. But I think you're going to be able to get some big plays against this defense.
I think their defense was better last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think their defense led them to some victories last year. I think they've certainly kept them in games to let Bear Bachmeier take control of games this year. But they've got, as you're saying, 8 interceptions in Big 12 play.
Mm-hmm.
They forced 1 fumble, so that's 9 turnovers. In Big 12 play, Texas Tech has 6 interceptions, but have forced 14 fumbles. Now, that's an extra game. That's 20-9. So you're doing what BYU did last year in Big 12 play.
Yeah.
But you have a better offense. They picked the ball off still at a high clip. But they were doing everything last year. Just an insane rate of turnovers. And I think they're better as a team because this offense is more consistent. But I think the defense is as good in places as last year, but they're not as good at forcing turnovers, though they do have, number 1 and number 0 are really good in the secondary, and ball hawks, the real ball hawks. So I don't know. I don't know that BYU. I don't think BYU has the juice. If you take care of the ball.
Yes.
If you don't take care of the ball, and that's what BYU does, but don't fumble, don't throw crazy to the sideline lobs.
If you follow the recipe that you've done in Big 12 play, you're going to win this game by 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And I think if you're looking at just going matchup-wise, I do think when you look at them, Reggie Virgil and Caleb Douglas are going to have to win some one-on-one matchups. But I look even more so, okay, well, Terrence Carter, it was great to have him back. You got him in the fold. He was huge. He's going to have a lot of opportunities in this game to be a difference of what this score is going to be and how many points you're obviously going to put up offensively. I look at the running game. If you are able to continue the progress that you bounced back with last week, and also speaking of the running backs in the pass game, I think you're going to have those two guys be huge difference makers in this game. And I just think that all three, between Terrence Carter, Cam Dickey, and Jacoby Williams, will have the ability to kind of get theirs. And then on top of it, whenever you have the opportunities for deep shots with Douglas or Virgil or, Coy Aiken, whatever that ends up being, if they win those on top of it, I just think there's so many more battles that you can come out on top of when you start going position versus position with your offense and their defense, that I just think you're going to win more than you're going to lose, but there's also a chance you win like 90% of them and blow them out of the water.
I also think the margin of error for BYU is in the turnovers. Mm-hmm. And they really push their margin of error further and further away offensively because they're so good at turnovers. Well, if Texas Tech is also forcing turnovers, like at Kansas State went out and got their couple of turnovers that they've been getting. Well, you forced 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it really shifts the momentum. So I think that BYU can do everything they normally do, and you can just do it better. I've got Texas Tech. I've not given a score anywhere yet. 35. You know what? 35-21.
This is the one thing for their defense. They've yet to allow a 30. It's going to happen this week.
Yeah.
I am going to, just to play it a little bit safe, I'm going to go 34. I was going to go 31. I still couldn't do it. 34.
Clank!
34.
Doink!
Yeah, 34. God, what a
It's so loud.
Who's doing the mics in Manhattan? Why are they giving it that much juice? Was it like I was like, was the mic in the football?
So
what
loud.
just happened?
It was so loud.
By the way, the sideline too, especially whenever they were getting real quiet,
Yeah.
you could hear everything. It was awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna go. By the way, also Joey McGuire. I hope you don't miss another extra point.
Yeah.
So, he and Chris Liffle.
How much is BYU going to score?
Sorry.
We can't make an extra point. Crap. Go ahead.
34. Was that your Joey McGuire?
Yeah.
That's really good. 34.
He's a little high pitched when he's excited.
Sure.
Yeah.
34-20.
Okay.
What did you say?
35-21.
Yeah, I'll play it safe. One of us has to.
He's gonna play it
One of us has to.
Then he just.
Look, you got a little too cocky with these scores.
I'm
What,
gonna play it
are they going to
safe.
score 100 each? 35-21.
I'll take the under. I'll take the under at 34-20.
I guess there's going to be no defense played according to you, huh? All right.
Oh my gosh. All right, you ready for a Big
I
12
really
whip
should start
around?
picking my scores before we get to these.
Big 12 whip around. I've, as always, got some takes here.
Before you get to your takes, can I say something?
Yeah,
Big 12's kind of ho-hum this week outside of you.
that's my take.
But that's how I feel about the entire college football slate. It's you.
Dude. I'm going to be nice to the Big 12 for a second, and then I'm going to finish with Flair. You ready?
Go for it.
I think Iowa State TCU is a big game for those two programs because they're both sitting 6-2, 5-4. TCU 6-2, Iowa State 5-4. Iowa State, with these injuries, is in danger of going 6-6, and Matt Campbell might just say, "This is it for me. I need more money somewhere to win, and I'm ready to win."
And a Big Ten job is open.
Several of them. Well, eventually. And then TCU.
Two? Three.
TCU is in a position at 3-2 in the Big 12 to win out and put pressure. I think. Do I think TCU is going to be in the Big 12 championship? No, but they're not out of it, and all they can do is keep winning because they have Cincinnati left.
And I don't know what the tiebreaker would be to, let's say if they did win out, which again, it seems, if I'm being honest, impossible with BYU and Cincinnati
and Houston. Yeah.
But if they were, they would have built up a lot of tiebreakers.
Yeah.
But I don't know like specifically what it is with Houston either, because they're the team that would love that, right?
It would. Well, I think Utah would be back in it at that point.
Sorry, did I say Houston?
Yeah, Utah would love it.
Utah is what I meant to say. Utah is the team that would love that.
All right, Arizona and Kansas, I think for a lot of the same reasons. Kansas a little further on in the rebuild. Mm-hmm. This is a pivotal game for Lance Leipold and his tenure, because you're taking a step back if you lose to Arizona further than you already have. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. And I don't think Kansas is ever going to fire Lance Leipold. But this is let me see if you agree with me here, because you're the Kansas fan. They're in a tenuous position with the fan base, especially this late in the season, as always basketball has started, to be real apathetic the rest of this year and entering next year if they don't finish strong.
So they could have the same exact record, and if they had flipped a win and a loss with either Missouri, it would have been better for them to have lost to Fresno State and won at Missouri.
Yeah.
Or,
Kansas State.
Lost to West Virginia and beaten Kansas State. And I don't think that there would be as much, because there's a big part of the fan base that keeps resharing a certain Mrs. Leipold that was complaining about the fan base and tweeting about them, about people not showing up. And then you also add in the Texas Tech fiasco that was a huge black eye. Yeah. Still has not been, in my mind, taken care of the right way, and it never will at this point. It's been embarrassing. And then you add in, on top of it, you've lost 3 out of the last 5. Yeah. You have you got Jalen Daniels to come back. He's been available all year. I think for their perspective, because 6-6, you might go, but it's 1 game better than last year. I don't care. Yeah. This was supposed to be a winning record year, and it's also supposed to be a winning record in Big 12 play year. And I agree with you. I don't think he'll be fired, but there's a lot of the fan base that's already hoping that Luke Fickell was going to get fired and Wisconsin was going to hire him.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone was more upset about the university backing Luke Fickell more than Kansas.
Yeah. Colorado, West Virginia, I think just, hey, let's not be the worst team in the conference is important for them.
Both sitting with 1 Big 12 win. I think, in my mind, West Virginia surpassed Colorado. They are playing.
Well, Oklahoma State's the worst, but
yes. Yeah. But I mean, as far as who's 14, Colorado is dog water right now.
And then Houston, UCF, space race. I think with those two fan bases, maybe get a little juice. But nationally, none of those games matter.
I would have been way more invested, especially since it's Friday night.
Yeah.
Houston at UCF, had Houston not just lost to West Virginia.
Yeah.
UCF's favored in that game, by the way.
Okay. Not only is there not another Big 12 game that's of substance this weekend, let's go to the top 25.
Let's do it.
Just looking at 11 a.m. or beyond, you're getting at 6:30 on ABC a coachless LSU versus Alabama. It's always a big game. At 6:30 you have Navy Notre Dame. That's 7-1 Navy versus 6-2 top 10 Notre Dame. You're getting at 11 a.m. Indiana, Penn State, 0-5 in Big 12 play. Penn State, coachless Penn State on Fox at 11 a.m. 11 a.m. on ESPN, number 5 Georgia versus 1-4 in SEC play Mississippi State. At noon, you have 5-0 Ohio State versus 0-6 in Big Ten play, Purdue. You have Ole Miss versus the Citadel.
Yeah.
And then your other ranked matchup doesn't come until 2:30, and that's number 3 Texas A&M versus number 19 Missouri. Can I get a takeoff? $8 million people. If YouTube hadn't canceled, 6 million people for sure are going to watch Texas Tech. Right? You could cross the 6.5 to 7 million people mark. And you're like, Rob, they're watching the rest of college? No, it's ABC. This is different.
Yeah.
ABC is a brand new animal. You have the lead-in of College Game Day, right to 11 a.m. Your number is going to be massive.
I think so, because this is part of a lot of people's takes where the Big 12, and it always does this just by the way that it's viewed. So naturally, your rhythm is going to be the Big 12 is way more interesting to the national eye in the final 3 weeks than it is the first 6. But especially when you look at the schedule where a lot of your contenders are playing against each other, you and Utah were really the outlier for that view. And honestly, it was good that you had, not for you individually, it was good for the conference that you had a matchup like that early on. Because
also for you.
Yeah, sure.
But both, yeah.
Because you're in a battle of relevance, and you're not going to shy away from the help of like a Miami losing steam individually with the ACC, or some of the best brands in the Big Ten falling because they're firing their coaches, or same thing, for the SEC. And by the way, the take of SEC top teams looking closer and closer to the rest of college football and not being unbeatable gods is growing week by week, and that I think the interest starts to show that, right? And there's a reason why. This is my opinion, because we don't know for sure, but I think even if you had lost at Kansas State, and thank goodness we don't have to play out this, I think College Game Day was coming.
Yeah.
Because it was still going to be a top 25 matchup, and we're also not taking into account it was going to be an undefeated BYU regardless.
Yeah.
So I think you are clearly the most interesting game, because the other thing with your other top 25 matchup, it's Texas A&M at Missouri. They're not going to be without their starting quarterback for Missouri.
Yeah.
And so if Texas A&M doesn't go there and blow them out of the water, that's a bad thing. Like that, not just for Texas A&M, but that's a bad thing for the SEC. These teams playing down to opponents is bad. Playing down to Florida is bad. I hate to break it to you. Playing down to Mississippi State is bad.
Breaking news.
So, yeah,
So
I don't.
Bad week for the Big 12 in a lot of ways, but also, like, you've saved it, because College Game Day is going to be in the Big 12, and BYU Texas Tech is a massive matchup, and it's big right now. It could be huge by Saturday. We'll know more. Well, we'll know more when this video is being watched.
Fan question of the week. This is a perfect lead into this, because I am of the opinion that you are going to be watching 2 playoff teams on Saturday. Fan question of the week: will the Big 12 get more than one team in the college football playoff?
I think more than one team are playing on Saturday. I think, Alabama and A&M and
At the Jones.
Oh, Big 12.
At the Jones.
Okay. I don't think BYU. Yes, the Big 12 will have 2 playoff teams.
Do you think it'll be Tech and Utah?
I think it'll be Tech and Utah.
I have enjoyed the Big 12 fan math, because I'm right there with everybody. I would love the Big 12 to get 3 in. Okay, well, if Tech beats BYU, and then BYU goes undefeated the rest of the way, and then it's Tech versus BYU, and then BYU wins that one, and then Utah keeps crushing people, there's 3 teams in. It's not going to happen.
I think that's I think it's more likely that happens than only one Big 12 team gets in. I think it's a bell curve. I think the top of the bell is that 2 Big 12 teams play in the playoffs.
If Notre Dame didn't exist,
I think Notre Dame could lose this weekend.
Right now, as it stands, I would be more inclined to say you'll get 1 instead of 3. But I think you're going to get 2. And again,
we're saying the same thing. You're on one side. That's what I just said.
Yeah.
Bell curve.
Sure.
1 playoff team, 3 playoff teams, 2 playoff teams. It's a Venn diagram.
It's like a circle.
Yeah. Circle.
Yeah, I guess
is a circle.
Thank you. I guess the only thing, because I do think it'll end up being BYU, but I'm not going to be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up being Utah. But
yeah.
As long as you're one of them, I don't really care.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you want to hear a quote that I forgot to read earlier with Jacob Rodriguez? This is from The Athletic on NFL prospects. Rodriguez's size, speed, and strength are all average by NFL standards, but his toughness at the point of attack around the football is fun to watch. He was considered a priority free agent entering the season. Rodriguez is now firmly in draftable territory and rising.
Yeah. I was listening yesterday, to Todd McShay talk about him.
Yeah.
I've been trying anytime I can get the isolated draft guys to talk about him. And he was talking about him as a day 3 pick, which that seems like steal territory for him. But the biggest thing was the way that those guys will build him up. It's like it's legitimately like they're describing Zach Thomas, because they'll go undersized, they'll go not elite athleticism, not elite speed, but his reaction is elite, and he's a great fit for a team that wants him to be a run stopper or a defender, and whatever you want him to do is the main role he can do. And so I think he will be higher than that. I think he's only rising to the national guys.
Yeah.
And maybe that's cheating because we've been watching him for a couple years now. But there's also, this is what's confusing, there's also draft boards that have him, going in a second round or something like that. But it's certainly fun to hear him be talked about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like it's been fun to hear first round talk for David Bailey and Romello Height and all of these guys. As always, thanks for joining us. See Rob's Twitter here, my Twitter here, Double T 97.3's Twitter here. Hit us up with whatever you got for Red Raider Recon. You can always leave a comment below. We've enjoyed the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. And just a reminder,
Jacob Rodriguez for Heisman.
You too can wear a Heisman-style mustache.
El Heisman.